Got the engine over to my buddy's place, got it up on the chain hoist. Already bolted on the exhaust manifolds on each side. Like I said, I'm gonna skip putting the risers on until it's in the boat. That'll make it a lot easier for installation. Next thing I'm doing is putting on the flywheel. I'm gonna torque the flywheel bolts down to 75 foot-pounds. Then I'll put on the adapters and everything for the drive shaft to go into after that. There you go.
Okay, so it's almost clear.
So I put the mounts on. We're gonna leave them on here with the nut on and then set it down. Once it's kind of in place, kind of lined up with the rear, then we can put the bolts back into the boat body itself and then bolt everything down. It is sitting in the boat now. Hardest part was fussing with these rear mounts. These rear mounts back here have to be lined up just perfectly. And then we ended up getting this side in and kind of first fishing it in there and then pivot it around to the other side and get that in there and set down and then zip them down. So my plan worked out pretty good, not putting the risers on. Once we get the engine mounts all torqued down, then we could put the risers in here and put the exhaust on and all that stuff. So far, working pretty good. All right, and moving on to the Outdrive. There's a couple gaskets, O-ring, seal thingy, bobbers that go onto this. If you've got the one that goes all the way around the outside, which is this guy here, if I can figure out how it goes. That's pretty self-explanatory. That just kind of sits around it like that. Then, uh-oh, I got it backwards. Hold on. There's a hole. It goes that way. Like that. Okay. Then inside of here, you've got a rubber seal. That goes in there. And the kit comes with all these pieces, so that sits flush up against a ring inside there. I know my camera is probably not the best, but. And then this guy here, there's a little rubber O-ring you kind of pull off. That sits around that. I'm going to clean that up a little bit before putting that on, and then that goes on there. That will ride inside. That goes on there. That little dealie. So we'll figure that all out once I get that all in place. And then don't forget, we got your speedo that plugs in too. So all that will be done once I get it all kind of in there. It's kind of hard to put this in and show at the same time. So you've got all your studs, you're gonna line up with your holes, and you got this linkage here. The linkage is gonna sit like that, and then it's gonna go into that slot. And then this turns a bar. It goes all the way down to here. And then there's like it's like a seated cup thing that rides in. So as it turns this way or that way, it turns that right there, and that sits in that little cup right there. So it's all kind of connected. So I'm gonna put the camera down and fight with this, try to get this in. I put a little bit of grease around that O-ring to kind of hold it in place. Otherwise, every time you bump this, that thing kind of falls down. That seems to be working pretty good. And then this little piece here is going to line up to that there. will give you a better idea of what I mean. That has to slide into that little slot. If you guys can see it, it's really bad camera position, but that's its final spot. That's all the way forward on the forward on the handle by the driver, the throttle. Thank you. Gosh, that's all the way forward. If you have it in the neutral position, it's at an angle and the Outdrive won't slide off. But if you push it all the way forward, that'll slide right backwards. So that's what you're looking for. There we go. All right, first fire up. Let's see what happens. All right. Probably still needs to get fuel up to the bowl here. It's empty, so. Compression stroke number 1 when it was shipped to me, but apparently not. It must have been on the exhaust stroke because I was 180 out. So what I did was I cranked it over till the timing mark was lined up, and then I popped the cap. Sure enough, it was pointing at number 1. However, it was on the exhaust stroke, so I cranked it over while watching the valves, and as soon as the intake valve came up, it came to top dead center on the mark here, and my rotor was facing the other way. So I just popped it up, spun the rotor around, set it back down, so it should start right up now, hopefully. I gotta put the cap back on. Let's see what happens now after spinning that. Ah, here we go. Now it wants to run. Okay, that's better. Now let me put the valve cover back. And now let's see what happens. Oh yeah. That's smooth.